Dear participants, now we are going to start the session 2 of today's blockchain and IoT refresher program. So for the second session, we have with us Mr. Girish Chandrasekhar, who is going to deliver his topic on edge computing. So now I request Professor Jyoti KS, Department of Computer Science, to introduce Girish sir to all the participants. Jyoti ma'am, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. This is Jyoti KS. Uh, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker of the session, Girish Chandrasekhar. He is a storage architect in disruptive technologies. He has vast experience of 21 years in software product development, architecture, distributed systems, cloud native solutions, edge computing experience, and his current area of focus is on edge computing solutions. He has successfully executed fully owned boxcars and product features. He has rich experience in software development methodologies such as agile programming and executed multiple projects involving globally distributed teams. And he drive initiatives across multiple teams and geographies, and he has experience in disruptive technologies like NVMe, RAID controllers, file system, host-based caching, scale-out storage, Kubernetes-based deployments, microservices-based applications, blockchain prototype development, edge computing, data engineering for ML applications, and has specialization in storage and networking also, like SESI, SAN, FC, IB, SAS, NVMe, and RAID. So please welcome to the session, sir. It's pleasure to have you in the session. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Jyoti. Thanks, Anil. The introduction. So, shall I start the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see. The screen is visible. Okay. Is my screen visible? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It is visible.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, I'm currently working on edge computing domain, and from past 2 years, we in NetApp we are actually developing a area which is not our core area of NetApp. NetApp is popular for storage, basically data protection services and data services. So edge computing is a new area where we know that in future a lot of data will be generated. That's why our interest is in edge computing. And in this area, we are working on developing innovative competitive solutions. So this is my disclaimer. Like I acknowledge all these things which are used not for commercial usage, and it is just for knowledge sharing. To begin with, today we'll be talking about what is an edge computing. So what actually drives edge computing? Why is it needed? So whenever we look at a new topic, like, so we try to cover what is that, why is that, and how is that. So these three W's, and when it is decided by the market and the competition, and then what is the edge computing topology, the approach that we are going to use, and the architecture, and the use cases, and you can ask and interrupt me anywhere in between while the presentation is on. So I want to keep it more, if it is more interactive, then it is more useful to know the perspective of the audience and how they think and how they perceive the area. And coming to the edge computing, I think from the context of the workshop that you guys have going through in the IoT and blockchain, it is highly relevant and a part of this edge computing. So I begin with what it means. So a typical definition of edge computing is called as like Gartner definition. And if I simplify this, basically, it is like, as the name suggests, it's a like computing that takes place at the edge of a corporate network, So I'll define what is the edge later. So at the edge means like the end devices will have access to the rest of the network, so that they can either deliver data to the center, centralized data center, and actually receive instructions and software updates that can happen at the edge locations. And in the concept of edge delivery is common, not the computing. Edge delivery means if we are aware of CDNs, content delivery networks, and some of the medias where caching servers are present, where the data is hosted at the edge locations to the actual end consumers. So that was popular, especially in the case of video and media workloads. So those CDNs, equivalent to that, edge computing is evolved, and so there's a lot of motivating factors why it has evolved. So it has taken a certain influence from CDNs also. Basically content delivery networks, where basically you have a lot of media in the centralized servers. Even if you take typically today YouTube or any other video solutions in the social media, that will not be hosted from the central server, because that will actually make a bottleneck and you will observe a lot of latencies. So what they push is, they push the same copy to the different locations or different data centers which are closer to your consumption point, to at the service provider level they host it, so that based on the popularity of the videos, people will have access to them nearby. So that's why it is called as edge-based caching kind of solutions there. So here, edge computing, as per the Gartner definition, it defines it's a part of distributed computing topology in which the information processing is located close to the edge, where the things and people produce or consume that information. So it's another way of looking at is it's an optimization of cloud. I will define what is a cloud here. So typically what happens is like from past few decades, earlier when the computing is evolved in 1980s, you had typically IBM PCs and the personal computer, desktop computers based on client server technologies, where most of the applications have been deployed and consumed. And later, from post 2005 onwards, the cloud computing started, which is based on a kind of utility computing. In the cloud computing, as you all aware of, everything has been in the model of a rented model, where you do not have to manage the infrastructure, and it comes in various patterns like infrastructure as a service, software as a service. And in the case of software as a service, like only the services you will be paid in a rented model, where you don't own any of the computing parts for the business applications that are hosted. And it is very easy for businesses where you have elastic demand, where the demands actually varies instead of constant demand. Because if the constant demand is almost, a cloud is similar to like owning a car versus renting a car kind of a model. So if it's a constant workload demand for several years, then the cloud computing is not most lucrative from business perspective. So now edge computing is thought of like a optimization of that cloud to move the compute very closer to the source of the data. And we'll discuss why it has been why it is necessary to move towards the edge side in upcoming slides. So any question on the definition and anything you want to ask in the typically in the context of edge computing? Any thoughts from the audience?
Audience, please unmute and you can ask the questions, or else you can place your questions in the chat window. I think no more questions, sir. You can continue.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Now, Basically, let me provide a bigger picture. So, bigger picture is in the larger context of things, how edge computing fits. This is captured in this diagram that is shown here. See here, you see multiple spheres where Internet of Things interacting with edge. Basically, it is saying like a local processing that is being done, and it interacts with the cloud and the corporate data center. Sometimes corporate data center may or may not be present depending on the needs of the sensitivity of the data and the model that I specified. Like if there is a constant workload, then you don't need a cloud. So you'll have a corporate data center being connected to the edge. So from the typical working point of view, the way it works is, so edge is the one where you will have a lot of IoT devices being connected, and for those IoT devices, actually edge computing, which is a typically rack of servers you can think of, like a set of commodity servers will be present, which will interact with these IoT devices, and it will enable these Internet of Things to have connectivity to the cloud and outside world, so that you have like the Internet of Things truly will have connected uh, concept to the internet will come from this edge. Through the edge gateway servers typically will have will make it. And here we can notice that the thing is there is a necessity for computation to be done at the edge. That's why it has come evolved, so that instead of directly going to the cloud where optimization would have been possible, now instead of doing that, because there are a lot of drawbacks associated with that. And why we need this, because always whenever a new technology or the concept is introduced into the system, so the way we think is, so why is it really necessary, from the point of view of can we avoid it, can we provide it at a lesser resources and lesser cost. So we look from the optimization point of view, whether edge computing is needed, or whether we can do it directly in the cloud itself, whatever processing we need to do. And unless and until it is necessary, and also it becomes very cost prohibitive to do it at the cloud level, so then there are several factors that drives to make this edge computing to evolve and come closer to the edge. And I will reason out some of the reasons why it is happening so. And this is the bigger picture. In the larger context of thing, you can assume that edge computing and processing is coming as an intermediate between the IoT devices, the operation technologies, and the cloud or the corporate data center. So now coming to what is driving this edge computing. So the trend that we are seeing is the first one is obvious, like being we are in a storage company, so we are look for data and part of data management. So we see that there is a huge increase in the data being generated, and this trend is exponential in nature. And because of the advancements in IoT, we get different kinds of data that is coming in, and that data is also tremendous. And this data, one of the key properties of this data is a transient. A transient means like that data is not required permanently, kind of thing. Like for example, if you are using a connected cars or a driverless car which is moving, so the data which is needed or captured will be needed for few seconds. Later, it is not needed for training purposes, so you will simply throw it away. So the thing is, because there is no permanency associated with the data, then it becomes expensive to just push everything to the cloud and then later delete it, or don't use it, kind of thing. So there is a difference in the nature of data that is being created and the way the data being consumed. So this is one of the primary motivation, like data being a very huge, being coming from outside world through the IoT devices, and they are being transient. And the second thing is because of the way the end devices being operational. For example, I'm going back to the same driverless car, or even in the manufacturing sectors where we do certain operations. So there is a need for real-time data processing. And the thing is, we know that we can't increase the speed of light. So the latency of any operations cannot be minimized unless you are closer to the location where that is happening. So and the thing is, like, if you have to send data to the cloud and then later come back and take the decisions to take certain operational aspects of the end device, then it is very difficult. So that's why so this is the second factor in the edge computing that is driving towards making the computations and the processing happening at the edge location, so that your latency problem can be removed. And also these end devices basically need ultra low latency to take those decisions quickly, and such kind of applications have been increased, so there is an increase in the demand of that. And this factor is also contributing to the evolution of edge computing. And the third one is the concerns about data security and privacy. Basically, with respect to cloud, also we have there are always a security concern about the data leakage or insider threat or even the external attacks. So typically the customers will be reluctant to move that data to somebody else's place, even though because of the lot of assurances and encryption, but it's a trust deficit will come in, and trustworthiness of the data that is being stored there is questionable. So because of that concerns of the security and privacy, so as most of the edge locations being owned by the customers are the part of that service provider, where they know that physical boundary do exist, where they can feel safe about the devices and also the security leakage and threat perspective. So this is also one of the motivating factor. And the third one is there are two kinds of things which are evolving in the hardware technologies. One is generic devices, generic chips, computing chips, and application specific chips. Even if you use ASICs, so that will be doing much faster dedicated works. And some of the generic chips, there is accelerated computing other than the CPU. Especially we are referring to GPUs here, like NVIDIA GPU, which are very much useful in doing real-time inferencing of those machine learning applications, and then they can take those decisions. And this acceleration of those devices and their miniaturization has made these things to be located at the edge. Nowadays, now we get some of the NVIDIA cards being part of ordinary Intel servers, which are deployed at the edge location so that they can process it. And typically we see many of the applications are video inferencing kind of, because in the sensor data we have two kinds of sensor data, like the data which is intelligent sensor data, where we need to do a lot of processing before we take a decision. And not so intelligent data are kind of sensor readings of small low-end devices, smart buildings, and various other sectors in the industry related to IoT. Whereas for intelligent data, so we need GPUs at the edge location so that they can infer those images and take certain decisions. And later we can send the rest of the data to the cloud. So here what we are saying is it can coexist with the cloud. We are not saying it's going to replace the cloud here. Edge computing will not replace cloud computing. Edge will do whatever is the relevant operations and then take the real-time decisions. so that process it and reduce the amount of data that is going to the cloud, um, so that unwanted transient data can be removed, or even the summarization of the data which is needed for in the cloud to do the long-term business analytics that can be done on the cloud will be taken care. So these are the key factors that are making. And additional factor, one of them is like what is happening is like industry 4.0 here coming up with new kind of sophisticated devices, and the operations that are happening, the expectation is like zero touch, no human interaction. The moment the human interaction or configuration comes, typically we have seen in earlier world of traditional IT environment, it takes several days. Such kind of tolerance is not present, or also we expect at the end devices the people who are involved or should focus on their operations rather than on the IT aspects of those device maintenance upgrade. So we try to see that even the configuration information can be taken from the location that we push or pull the data into the config or the firmware updates that can happen at the device, so that at the device side very least amount of operations can be done. So that and also the resiliency and the reliability aspects of it, that means the autonomous operations, making those devices autonomous also is makes one of the key contributing factor towards the edge computing. Now I go back to the data aspects of it just to enlarge a bit, like what kind of data that are present. And so as we see, like the kind of data that is entering to the cloud for long-term analytics and machine learning of those data which can be trained, and later we can use those machine learning based models to be deployed to the edge devices. So we need a long-term data. So the kind of data that is coming currently with IoT has been very much different, which we are used to earlier with unstructured text, images, and audio. Now we have machine-generated data with sensor data, with smart devices, and these different nature of data also have certain properties. And these properties make the way we were doing the protection of that data is not relevant, in the sense like earlier as a storage company we used to do deduplication. Deduplication means like in a virtual desktop kind of environment where multiple users are using same operating system in a different way, so we can do a deduplicate and make a copy and write kind of thing, where we can have a small change with the less amount of storage, we are able to serve multiple customers. Now what's happening with the IoT kind of sensor time series based data is like they're not dedupable. So the thing is, the way we used to manage and store those data will totally change. And even so basically in case of video, by default they come with MPEG, with the compressed data format. They are already compressed, so we cannot provide further storage efficiency to it. And so a lot of the value adds that we have provided from past 20 to 30 years, especially in the data management, in the storage management world, it becomes irrelevant in IoT workspace. So then there is a need for new way of storing and removing those storage functionalities or the data protection functions that is needed. So this is the real-time data that is a part of IoT, which we see from some of the studies from the IDC source taken. As we see, there is a trend in compared to other data, IoT data being exponential rise because of exponential way of expansion of IoT devices being deployed. And here we see that real-time data, which is a logs, sensor output, and it is becoming like contributor for all the data that is being coming up, where we can say 30% of data created is real-time data. And Uh, and there is a various varieties in these loads, and typically we say like around 40 to 50 by 2025 zettabytes of data. Like for example, this data zettabyte is a huge number. Basically, if I give um, a similarity, like example kind of, if 1 gigabyte is if you are equivalent to one brick, then 1 zettabyte is equal to whole Great Wall of China kind of bricks which constitute that. Now we have such a humongous amount of data that is being generated, and which needs to be processed and minimized and reduced, and only the relevant data needs to be sent to the cloud. So that's the key message here. And some of the benefits that we expect from edge computing, the computing that is being done at closer to the end devices location, is listed in this slide. Basically, it will make because of the local storage, locally it is stored, and so it is more secure and reliable operation, because the way IoT devices and the edge computing is evolving is like we look for disconnected kind of operations, like if even if it is not connected to the cloud, or it is called as the air gap solutions, where if you don't have any internet connectivity, still it can manage within that operational center. So, and later when the network comes up, it can do regular sync up of operations and get it to the proper online state. And the disconnected state will not affect the regular operations of IoT devices. And also the edge computing infrastructure and edge computing software will operate as per the applications that are hosted on the edge computing infrastructure. The next one is obviously like the faster response because of the closeness. And because it is operating at the source of the data, sometimes it creates the data or consumes the data where it is needed. And this solution obviously has to be cost effective, because cost effective because every data that moves inside or comes out of the cloud, ingress or egress cost, the cloud is so it is very expensive, and also because of the transient nature, not all data is needed. And for every small operations, going to the cloud is not so cost effective. So any questions before I move to the next stages from the concepts related to edge computing so far? Okay, so I'll go to the next aspects, the edge computing topology. So here is the way we picturize the overall edge computing and the overall scheme of things, so where it will fit in the context of layers. It has been expressed here, like we have IoT end devices, sensors and controllers coming as the lowest bottom layer, where the data being generated for its operations and its maintenance. Those metadata information will go through the IoT gateways into the edge computing systems. And here edge computing is also called as a fog computing, because it is intermediate near between the cloud and the edge devices. You have this computing infrastructure being present. Here, the edge computing, as you can see here, like typically it is will have a few racks of servers. That's it. It's not like a very big data center kind of thing. So typically, depending on the requirements of the end devices being operated and controlled, and the data which is processed, we will have so many related deployment of those servers. Typically starts with 1 server to 5, 10 kind of scenario. And here, coming to the servers, these servers are typically the commodity industry standard servers, which are either Intel based or ARM processor based server, which typically will have an operating system, and obviously some local storage associated with this, and we'll have a typical networking infrastructure to operate those set of servers. And these servers will have applications and the management software that is being written, so that it takes care of autonomous operations of these devices, so that these devices doesn't need any manual intervention. So that's the key requirement of the servers edge computing software that we run here, and we try to make this as a platform here by making use of those set of servers as a cluster of servers, and on that platform we make sure that the applications are deployed to the those servers, and also manage those IoT devices. And here we can see from the edge computing layer, you have connectivity going to the cloud. So from the servers, we have cloud connectivity, obviously for two reasons. One of the things is for business analytics, are doing long-term batch processing of the data, or even the machine learning training kind of operations that being done for the data which is new data, or we can say retraining data that is to be pushed to the cloud. That's one set. And another one is some of the data protection or the image protection, or the VMs, or the applications data which is very sensitive, which needs to be protected. By establishing some kind of high availability service, we actually back it up in the cloud. So those kind of data will actually move. And then from the cloud, basically we get the configuration data, like how it has to be configured, even the IoT devices, how we can configure through these servers. And also even the configuration of the edge platform itself is taken from there, from the cloud. And one of the things we can notice here from this internet to internet, so there will be a firewall which will be sitting in the edge network. That means what we see is like the connections which go from the edge location to the cloud location is one way, in the sense like it is called as typically outbound. So some of the customers are scared of exposing everything from the edge, so they say like, we don't open any of the ports. In other words, there is no direct cloud calling on certain port number from the cloud to the edge. Instead, it is like edge calling the cloud. That is called as a kind of, we can call it as a pull model kind of thing, so that the cloud should not dictate what applications and what firmware needs to be installed on those edge devices, or even to the edge computing infrastructure. So all these decisions will be taken at the edge location itself, and basically there exists a disconnectivity between the intranet and the internet. And here the edge computing infrastructure actually polls and gets the data, and it will do the installation. So because of that, we call it as outbound access. Outbound means going from the edge to the outside, to the internet world, and not the other way around. So this will provide a major secure way of operating in this world, where different actors across different domains are involved, especially in the context of internet, with a lot of privacy and security and denial of services kind of attacks that exist in this world. And this makes our architecture of edge to be done in such a way that we always go to outgoing connection to the cloud. And coming to the other aspect, storage is not so much requirement, because the one of the requirement here we will have is like, as we generate the data, consume the local storage, and even we can delete the data, so that continuously we can do some of the processing, like being a compression or some of the analytics being done, so that we can do massive reduction in the data that is being stored at the edge side, which we want it to be moved to the cloud, and where the bandwidth of the network matters a lot between the edge and cloud, and also it involves the cost is involved in the IT costs of moving and managing the data. So the more the processing that happens at the edge side, it is better. And also this doesn't make like the applications, the way the nature of applications which are actually coming from the cloud to the applications that are sitting on the edge should not be different, because that will create a fork and we need a different kind of maintenance. So that's why there is a evolution of the cloud edge being considered as an extension of the cloud, so that you develop the applications at one side, build a cloud native applications, or we can call either VM based applications or microservices, which is container based, Docker image based applications, were developed at once and maintained, managed everything through their whatever configuration management, code management, which is a typical of a corporate. But the thing is, it is developed one stack. The same should be applicable to the cloud edge location, so that your cost of maintaining the software and cost of developing and operating it is highly minimized. So in that context, containerized applications makes sense in this world, so that so they are centrally managed and monitored by the developers, and it fits directly into the DevOps strategy, where developer and operations are integrated together. The work environment of the applications won't change, and these containers which are running inside those running inside the container will have the similar environment, and also there won't be any operational complexities that are involved. And these applications sit directly on our edge servers and do the operations which are needed for those applications. And here we can notice, like for example, when those applications are deployed on these edge servers, they again will go to the pull model. Like those applications will once installation being initiated on the server side, so the server will communicate to the be it private image repositories, be it cloud's repository or a Docker repository or a Docker hub. So these will communicate, download those things, again following the pull model, and the installation decision being taken at the edge side, and fully aware the customer what they are controlling the software that is being operated from here. And this is and coming to the cloud relevancy, as I said earlier, it won't go away. Basically, it is required for complex learning model and centralized control. And in this architecture, we see like the edge computing, some of the management and orchestration of those applications will move to the cloud side, so that it will be controlling the typical metadata kind of objects, where they control the whole end-to-end device management and the infrastructure management, be it the application lifecycle management. Being the application lifecycle management means you have a containerized or Kubernetes kind of orchestration exist on the cloud side, and that will be used to control and manage the edge devices, and it is highly scalable, so that you can scale to since we said this is a distributed computing infrastructure, you can have a different edge locations, and everything is managed through single operation center in the centralized cloud, where we take care of maintaining the updates and what application, tracking the health and monitoring the various key properties of the edge locations, and even the edge computing is also managed through the cloud, centralized cloud orchestration layer. So that's why we say cloud is relevant, and only managing certain key aspects of it, and full autonomy is given as far as the operations that happen and real-time processing that happen, which is needed for those IoT edge devices. Then Coming to the approach, as I was saying, the approach that we are taking is shown here. Like basically, our thought process of considering edge as an extension of the cloud is the key aspect here, and the central cloud is going to manage the devices or the resources or the software piece, and which is going to manage is being considered as the extension of the cloud software itself. And the cloud is actually schedule it, but still it is not inbound, because we learned many things from the Kubernetes. Kubernetes, the way it operates is not a command oriented approach like which used to be earlier typical calls. Like you give a command saying that you run this script, or you call the function, which is a typical RPC way of doing that. A function being called, and that does the work. And if during in between, if there is a failure, it cannot take. So instead of command oriented approaches, Kubernetes brings in a declarative style of this, like where you say, like, you want to reach to this stage or a state, and you achieve this state without worrying about the time it takes to reach to the stage. So this is especially from not from the operations of the devices itself, it's from the installation, orchestration, bring up and management perspective. We think a declarative style, the API style way of operating the edge computing makes very much sense for us, because to take care of various disconnected nature between the edge and cloud during its operations, and also any failure can happen, so that failure can be considered as okay. And so that by looking at the declarative status of the object, which need to reach from current state to the desired state, it can take those reconciliation, or it can do, you can call it as like a self-healing kind of thing, can happen for the, especially in the management plane of the those operations. And from that perspective, we leverage those concepts from the cloud side, and also the necessity for cloud to edge bidirectional communication. So basically, as we said earlier, like because the data is moves from both the sides, not necessarily that a lot of data moves from cloud to edge, because we need to send only the instructions, or the, even though that is in declarative style, we need to send those firmware updates, which are typically small in nature. Whereas if you have a lot of data which is being created at the edge side, so that data in the reverse direction from edge to cloud will be higher order of magnitude coming compared to the data that goes from cloud to the edge. And here in this cloud to edge bidirectional communication, we can expect some of the disruptions that can happen in the way, and our software should be able to handle those unstable networks. And at the same time, the other aspect is the scalability of the devices. So you have to manage a lot of devices at the edge locations, and it has to be managed through the same software which is sitting at the cloud orchestration layer side. And another thing approach, another being the heterogeneous edge nodes, because not a similar kind of edge nodes being present in terms of computing infrastructure, the CPU, memory, and the nature of hardware that is being present. Some devices might have GPUs and some may not have GPUs, and still we need to take certain decisions, where some applications only meant for GPU installed devices. So if you have hundreds of edge locations where through your management you should be able to decide like which of those 4-5 edge devices which has got a GPU that need a specific application or the firmware update. It has to be operated in that level seamlessly without any user intervention, or even that managing those things even with a GUI based operation is very tedious and complex. So that has to be automated through our API style of managing it. So the API style, I mean, is like the Kubernetes API way of managing the edge infrastructures. So in that context, we call that heterogeneous edge nodes, especially heterogeneous edge management. In addition to not only the single customer, even across the customers. So now you are seeing like edge computing management is being present in the cloud, and edge operations are in the processing actually takes place near the edge. So we being focusing on the edge management software development, one of the key aspects that we look for is it is scalable, so that a zero touch happens at the edge side. And this is, we call it as, this software ultimately called as fleet manager kind of thing. So we have a fleet of edge locations being monitored, managed, and software and firmware upgraded, maintained, and everything orchestration being taken in a declarative style at the management layer, which you can call it as a SaaS software as a service, which is running on any of the cloud. And typically, to give a core idea of that, is the core thing is about, it is based on Kubernetes. So that if it is a Kubernetes based software that is sitting in the cloud, it is Kubernetes by nature, it is scalable. And I think in earlier sessions, Kubernetes and IoT and blockchain has been covered. So you get the rough picture of what I'm talking about, the relevance of consumption of a Kubernetes for the edge compute management layer. And the synergy is, the thing is like here, edge will have a localized fast reaction and reliable and decentralized, and edge, even the edge will have peer-to-peer communication for discovery and heavy computing management, and bigger picture of the entire fleet of edge locations, devices being deployed is monitored and managed in the orchestration layer that is present in the cloud. So that's the approach that we want to take. And what are the benefits of these the approaches that we are going through? As I mentioned, the Kubernetes become core of our strategy. What it happens is like containerized applications will come, like as a extension of our edge being the cloud. Now we will have cloud native applications like build once and run anywhere, and lightweight based images compared to VMs. The containerization actually makes it possible to run huge number of applications at a given small piece of infrastructure. So it's all about efficiency and the optimization. And the next thing is, one of the thing is generalized application abstraction. So here in the edge computing management software, why we call the application abstraction means same APIs, application exposed by the management layer should be applicable for across different edge locations, the same way we interact with different locations. Even so that means what is happening here is the configuration is going to decide what needs to happen. So it is simple. Basically, you can consider like this generalized application abstraction is a certain set of APIs is expected. Those APIs are like Kubernetes style application. In the Kubernetes style, you know typically it will have a spec with the version, the nature of the container image it has to take, and various application specific properties that has been listed, and it is a part of those Helm charts being going to see the way those APIs are being consumed internally by the Kubernetes. So here we make those generalized application abstraction, and this will make similar experience the way we operated the cloud native microservices. It will be similar for edge based infrastructure also. So here you're seeing two things here. One of the key things, one is containerization, so that your lightweight application can run. At the same time, same orchestration layer, which is the Kubernetes being used to manage those things, and at the same time it is not different from cloud. So that means we saved a lot of developmental effort, which is specifically meant for the edge is not needed. Now the same thing will apply here. Only thing is probably you might be reducing certain layers which are not needed, or certain storage requirement of those software pieces not required. And also some of the edge deployments locations, we have seen the compute requirement is also very minimal. Like you have maybe one vCPU with 100 GBs of 92 or 96 GBs of RAM with one vCPU is a requirement for certain kind of application is needed. So such a kind of heterogeneous, compact requirements, and this containerized application and the application life cycle management through the Kubernetes, it makes a very relevant sense for us. And also we have seen like not a generic Kubernetes is sometimes needed, probably miniature version of that, like we call it as KTS, which will have a small footprint, but the way operate naturally, it is similar. And also we look for the images, that the Docker images that we take, which will not have a huge size. It is based on the typical need of the customer, where we can take, even we consider few MBs of Docker images relevant, because some of the base images runs in multiple hundreds of MBs. So we typically identify the nature of the application requirement and the nature of the customer application need to run, which will actually dictate the amount of storage space required for the image, amount of compute, and the networking infrastructure that needs to be consumed for that application. And at the same time, the architecture is extensible. So we know that Kubernetes by default is extensible. That will make to have this edge compute management framework, which is being present in the cloud, which is going to manage those edge computing infrastructure, be it edge computing applications or even the infrastructure itself. So the way we typically do the edge computing deployments is like we typically have a USB stick. That USB stick will have, once the hardware, pure hardware has been, pristine hardware has been shipped from the hardware vendors, typically Dell or Supermicro, Lenovo kind of servers which are deployed at the edge site. So we'll have a USB stick based installation where just they need to insert the USB disk and boot it up. So the software itself will do clustering of together available set of servers and configure itself. And it will communicate to the cloud management software, and it recognizes, and so that then the our Kubernetes, which is sitting inside the cloud, is going to manage those edge location from there onwards, what software needs to be installed and how it has to be monitored based on the industry sector where we are in, be it manufacturing or telecom, depending on the need of the applications. We make those relevant configurations in our software and the APIs that we provide. And one of the good thing is, like, even the application deployment, which is of the interest by the customer, who ultimately care about their edge devices being operated with those software. It will typically present in their CMM, their typical code management software, where typically it is like a GitHub, GitOps based operations, where they make even the configuration changes as a part of their GitHub, so that those configuration changes, even though you make those changes at our API level, it will percolate indirectly down to the edges and make sure those images, container images, being deployed and operated without the need for skills requirement or the human interventions at the edge locations. Everything is through the way GitOps we are going to manage. And we see here in the approach that we have taken, I think many of the competitors, companies are doing similar things in this world, like even the hyperscalers, like Azure, AWS, and GCP. They have their own IoT end-to-end solutions in the context of edge computing being central to their processing. But many of them will not have. They have a lot of gaps, so that's why we try to uh, reduce those gaps, and some of those things cannot be possible by them. So that is where we are trying to fit our values into this. And also many open source software solution also do exist in this space, or they are also working in this direction, so that they can provide to such an upcoming trend where the huge amount of IoT data is increasing and the need for computing at the edge is increasing. And some of the gaps that we have seen, that the hyperscalers are unable to manage or do it, or do it efficiently, which we think we can add value, uh, either as a company or through general some of the open source solutions, or some of the startups which can fill these areas, are like typically the gaps are like the resource constraints are huge. It depends on a lot of on the devices uh, being devices being intelligent or not intelligent. So not so intelligent means like we have a very small chip, sensor kind of low end sensors being present at that locations, and how they can be managed there. And then so there exists, as we have seen, like the networking becoming very complicated, too tired here. So now we have a corporate network at the edge, and which will have VPN and do not want to extend to the cloud for security issues. And then some of the installations operations, they may not have any internet associated with that, but still on their premises they wanted to have intranet and get the networking uh, operations. And the next one is the need for the autonomy of the edge. That is very important because of the operations technology, where in the OT side we have the skill set mismatch, or whether they need that skill set of the IT management is the question to ask here. So typically at the edge side we prefer like it should be zero touch, and it should be installed. The simplicity of installation, the simplicity of management actually make these edge devices more adaptable in the IoT industry, so that it becomes seamless, even though it is disconnected and offline, and it comes back later and tries to manage it. So the autonomy at the edge side and autonomous operation is a very significant requirement. So that actually differentiates. Otherwise, people would have thought like taken some cloud-based software and directly applied it here, and with the direct cloud connectivity. So some of those things will break here because of the nature of the requirements that exist in this IoT space, and and also because of obviously of the latency requirements. And we have like the devices also, in terms of scalability of devices, you have billions of devices, and depending on the device complexity, hierarchy, and the management of it, it's a huge task. So so it is the command line, or the API is the way of managing. So we need these kind of solutions which will make this edge computing architecture very significant competitive in the market, and try to solve those customer problem for IoT. Next, so this is the typical architecture I was actually referring to, where you can see in the edge computing architecture, where in the cloud we have Kubernetes being the orchestration layer, the software that is running here. And one of the advantages in Kubernetes is like I can run not as a managed service. I can have my own independent EC2 instance or VMs which are running on the cloud, and have our own upstream Kubernetes, which is coming from open source world, and that can be used with the orchestration layer consisting of CRDs, basically custom resources, where we can define how to manage the edge infrastructure. And this Kubernetes is going to manage multiple hundreds of edge installations being managed through this layer. And at the edge side, we can see like edge infrastructure software. So there exist different types of edge infrastructure software that is present at the edge locations. So typically some of them in the earlier generation, which is carried forward, was like typically it will be a scale out based servers and commodity servers being clustered together. And in the earlier approach, typically used to be you have some kind of VM or virtual infrastructure, ESX or KVM or hypervisor based things, where we consume those hardware and provide VMs on top of which edge applications can be installed. Those edge applications, if your infrastructure has got a store compute with a GPU associated with that, that edge infrastructure will provide a VM. So in that VM, you can actually see the GPU part of it, and from that GPU, you have that application will be the customer's proprietary inference application, which can do the object recognition, and then, or if you have a surveillance camera, for example, you can do the processing of those objects at the edge infrastructure software layer itself. And here the infrastructure software management involves managing those applications, not the devices actually here. So those applications which basically make sure those devices will operate properly, and also for those industry verticals, the typical generic virtualization platform will enable those VMs to have the applications. So here what we do is, like in the edge infrastructure software, we'll have typically the older way of doing is like virtual platform, as I said, like we will have a marketplace. A concept of marketplace is present, because how we install and deploy the virtual machines also plays a role here. So in the edge infrastructure software layer, if you can consider, we have a marketplace, and this marketplace comes in two ways. Like the customer can have his own web server where he can host his virtual machines, and which is connected through those URL links, so that you can download those VM images and get installed on the infrastructure, and bring that local LAN network connection, and make those VMs actually accessible to the devices, so that we will have those devices OT IT interactions. And some of the applications, the modern typically evolving applications are microservices. They don't like that. So in those cases, we need to make sure like the edge infrastructure software will run a kind of containerized applications at the edge infrastructure layer side. And here, assembling it together, making sure that the edge software and the cloud software seamlessly work together, even though in the disconnected world, and make sure taking care of the reliability, the security aspects of it, data privacy aspects is some of the key challenges that we have to address, and we are addressing in this. And also, when we look at a typical edge computing architecture, we look from the strategy of two key aspects. One is it's an extension of the cloud, and the second one is it needs to make sure the orchestration should make sure that the simplicity of the operations happen at the edge side, so that less human skill requirement and seamless operations, self-healing properties, and at the same time reliable operations. Reliable in the sense like when we have the infrastructure having multiple servers, and if some of those servers fail, you should be able to take care, like fail over those applications to the other one, so that the operations continue, and some of the infrastructure applications that we internally need, maybe like data cataloging, out of bound processing, and trying to analyze the quality of the data that needs to be sent to the cloud, and data compression, and various other data processing techniques that we can apply on those application generated data. And those applications typically is to manage those devices, and this data, once being processed, uh, that will be decided whether to keep the retain the data, or you can send it to the cloud for further operations. So all these decisions point will be taken care at the edge infrastructure itself. And you see these two blue boxes, like we try to evolve our uh, architecture in this direction. So any questions on edge computing architecture before we move to the next?
Giri sir, I have few questions noted down through by your discussion through PPT. So I will
Yeah,
place
sure.
you at the end, sir.
Okay, sure. Okay, then. Let me go to the next. So basically, I think this is my last slide. Yeah. So some of the use cases for edge computing, just to bring out the motivation and why we are talking about all these things, is mainly like we see the applicability in future, the things, areas, the industrial sectors, the verticals where we see the edge computing being relevant, especially being listed here, like smart manufacturing, the smart buildings. In the smart manufacturing side, we have seen some of the customers, like in the manufacturing side, like I can give you a typical example, like some of them looking at the weld quality, like if some of the manufacturing sites where welding being done for those materials, and by looking at the quality of the weld through the video surveillance of the images of the weld being taken, and some of the machine learning applications that run with the GPU, and say like whether it's proper, so that we can give the real time feedback at the site, so that we can have a smart manufacturing, some of those things. And obviously connected cars and various other drones and systems. And we have augmented reality, network gaming, mobile. We see like the set is ever increasing. And actually this is actually bringing the change in the notion we have. Typically from 2005 onwards, we evolved into centralize everything kind of thing, where it is cheaper to do everything at the cloud, and so that the customer focus on business and do everything there. And now we go into decentralized world, because of all these things, that the trends and the way the nature of requirements is changing, and where decentralization makes distributed computing makes sense. From that perspective, the edge computing infrastructure management, the orchestration, the simplicity of operation, making sure those applications which are not owned by the infrastructure providers, the applications are still controlled by the application developers or the customers, and they make sure they're end to end, from cloud to edge, is taken care seamlessly as operations. I think that's about it. So, can we take questions? Any?
Sure, sir. Sir, I personally noted down few things. Okay, I want to clarify with you.
Sure.
Sir, with the introduction of this edge computing, definitely the number of devices will definitely increases and data collection increases, and even the locations in which the data processing happens, that also will increase. Okay, won't it be a potential threat for increasing threat for data, sir?
Oh, yes. So the thing is, that's why I said like one of the primary requirement for edge computing is to make sure that data is secure at that site itself. So that the easiest way of saying uh, the easier way of saying the thing like making anything secure is not to leave that premise itself. Like you have a typical edge location where you have a physical security do exist on that premise, like for example an industrial plant or a military installation or a location. So if the data won't live there, then it is at least some one level of security being established. So the thing is, some of the network security or the cloud security principles that we have used, that can be leveraged and applied to this edge location. And obviously security is a big concern, because the thing is, by not having internet, yeah, even though you call it as IoT devices, right, certain installation they call it as air gap solutions, where they say like I need certain systems only need to be connected to the internet, so that it will reduce, and also by going through not having inbound access, so you added a lot of hackers coming into your installations, or if, for example, your hospital installations where um, you have critical robots being doing surgeries being controlled by those IoT devices being controlled by this edge computing, and where security is a paramount importance. So that we have a air gap solution where we don't allow any inbound or incoming request, whereas a request can be made from edge to out. And also we carefully control the softwares. The software that needs to be installed is decided by the customer through the image management, which I said earlier, through the declarative style, so that any application that he is going to deploy it has to be written as a YAML file, and that will be scrutinized before it has been deployed. So now we have a tighter control, because what software you want to install, you have controlled it, and you have not opened any ports, so that there is no incoming new request, only outgoing requests. uh, and also you establish that those software which being installed as a part, it will meet the security guidelines. So like, are there any, if you are using any open source software, whether they have been vulnerabilities being reported and being addressed. So there are several strategies being used to make sure. Obviously, security is a concern everywhere, and here many of the security issues being warded off by doing these things. Sorry.
Okay, fine, sir. Sir, my next question is, sir, for any computing system, okay, so there will be an organization's operating model now, sir. So with the introduction of this edge computing, needs any changes in that organizational operation model?
No, actually, with the edge computing, what happens is, so you are talking about the governance and the
Yeah, yes, sir.
organization of the. So the key thing is actually, what used to happen is, typically, whether we call IoT, if even though I part of internet was not present, operation technology was there always. The industrial operation technology, right? The way they operate these smart devices, or the devices they used to interact. So now, with the introduction of edge computing, or the introduction of this IT infrastructure into that, now what will happen is, clearly there is a separation of roles, and the way we have seen like reducing the dependency on the IT management, so that the operation technology personnel or the skills, so they can focus on their operations the way it used to be traditionally. So there is not much changes in the way that is managed now. So organizationally, there are not much changes, but still, so with the evolving needs of the customers, and the customers having multiple deployments, now they need centralized view of everything, like hundreds of clients if they want to monitor and see centralized bigger picture of what's happening. So those things will be provided at based on a role based access based mechanism kind, so that some of the executives will have those access to the information. Chief information officers kind of thing will have uh, the global view of multiple deployment of edge locations and its operations. So there will be slight changes in the way the organization is going to look into in this space. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, with the introduction of this edge technology, definitely the cost involved now, sir. So won't it increase the service cost?
The cost, no, actually this has come to reduce the cost. Basically what I if so we look from this perspective, if it is not there, assume a case, if it was not there, how you would have solved this problem. So we look always from engineering problem solution solving perspective, how we can solve a given problem with the least involvement of resources. So from that perspective, the edge computing has become mandatory now, because as I said, like if you have gone through the traditional way, then you have to push all the data. Like for example, if you generate hundreds of GBs of data per day, then you have to move that to the cloud, and that has to process it, and all this bandwidth network, all these costs significantly add up. And also the latency requirement, as I said earlier, right? Like if you have a connected car or a driverless car, and even to take a minor decision, if you want to go to cloud, means your dependency and your ultra low latency requirements are not met. So that's why so some of these requirements of low latency applications is the need of the day, and you need to take real time processing. So we need computing to be present at the edge location. So we look from cost reduction angle as an overall strategy, rather than increasing the cost. So I think this makes us a business incentive. Like we reduce the cost by doing this thing, because a lot of data reduction techniques can be applied and making it simplified, so that even the operation technology guys can adapt to this seamlessly with lesser manageability aspects.
Okay, sir. Sir, my next question is, what is the percentage of adaptability now with edge to the edge technology in the market, sir? So, because
Yeah.
if it is emerging technology, means even we can suggest our students to work more on these technologies, so that there is a scope for them to when they are in the market. So
Yeah, as I shown some of the data here right earlier, like by 2025 you have 30% of data become real time data. So basically it is picking up in the sense, like as we can see the trend in the industry, like many of the hyperscalers like Google, Amazon, Azure, Microsoft being invested in the IoT space. As the IoT requirements grow, I think the edge computing and the computing at the IoT side also will grow. So I think from that perspective, we are seeing that change in the sense, like as devices are becoming more and more smart, and as there is improvement in the hardware technologies, ASIC being miniaturized, and as the IoT and the artificial intelligence being coming up closer together, we see that trend in the sense, like in 3 to 5 years down the range, we can predict that we will have a lot of installations based on these kind of technologies.
okay, sir. Sir, my last question is, sir, what are the prime business goals for edge computing, sir? Is it only the processing, I mean, else reducing the delay only this much, or else is there any other goals are there?
Yeah, actually, they have 3 to 4 goals are there. One is the security. One is reducing the processing time, obviously, the security, processing the time, and the amount of data generated. So the such as zettabytes of data being generated, and we are unable to consume so much of data. So by doing a processing at the edge side, you are reducing the data requirement. And the autonomy I meant was like, so that you can do simplicity of operation, because nowadays most of the IT installation people want single click, so that they don't want to get into the knobs of various tunable parameters and various ways of following like 4 to 5 hours of installation and getting it up ready for 1 week kind of thing. Now never works. It's all like with a single click you should be able to intelligently install, run, manage, and operate. So all these 4 to 5 reasons are coming together for the need for this edge computing.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, audience, if you have any questions, please unmute and ask.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sorry, I was not able to attend the whole this one. But I have some few points to be understood. Like you said about edge computing, there are other technologies like fog, dew, which are also supporting like this. Means, are they actually the edge computing methods only they are using, or are they using different thing? That was the first point. Let me just ask you. I all the answers are combined. You can give me the combined. And how this edge computing can be applied with the ThingSpeak, because most of the IoT devices uses ThingSpeak to make certain operations. How this edge computing can be built up, uh, particularly for security and other things. And we are using most of the time Arduino, Raspberry Pi for the IoT experiments. How I can introduce this edge computing into this one? So these few questions, if you can list.
Yeah, sure. So your first question is about 1 second, let me recollect.
Fog, dew,
Yeah.
other
Basically,
technology.
basically these are classification only. Anything outside the cloud, people near the edge, they call it as either fog, dew, or even edge computing. So only the terminologies, I think it's most of them are same. That's one aspect of it. And the second aspect is that you need to see the motivation of the people who are doing that. If some people from the telecom provider, if they are coming from that, right, telecom software developers, so they try to bring some of the innovations in those edge devices connectivity and then pitching their IoT solutions. From that perspective, I think it is most of them are similar. So there will be some certain variations depending on the requirements of the customers. So majorly we see manufacturing and telecom sectors are early adopters in this area, because the nature of their requirement makes the edge computing or the fog computing more relevant, because they have a lot of edge installations. That's why they are driving the market, in the sense like the requirements that they are bringing into companies like us to come up with solutions and make their life easier. Coming to the end devices, you are talking about Raspberry Pi and the operations that is being done. Actually, these, especially in the Raspberry Pi kind of thing, is typically used in a kind of what we
Gateways.
gateways, and also in the concern, because there are some reliability concerns will be there with respect to Raspberry Pi, and these are basically
Raspberry Pi, I think it's somewhat good compared to Arduino. Arduino is a bare machine.
yeah, correct. So basically this we consider this mostly related to the device management side of the IoT. So if you split the IoT in two layers, basically, where the device management, the sensors, so there are a lot of industry vendors do exist, like so GE and Siemens and various Schneider Electric. So basically, they will have the end devices. They know their machines very well, their operations, their characteristics, even including this Arduino and the Raspberry Pi. So this device management aspects and the operations management is actually not intervened, or so they are actually coexist, in the sense like their operations will be managed at the IT side with this one, because at the end of the day, even the Raspberry Pi or the any edge devices, it's going to generate a data, whether it is going to consume or create a data, and that data need to be processed, And as I said, the classification I gave was unintelligent and intelligent devices, right? So the more requirement is coming in the industry side. I'm talking from industry side, more industry side. More requirement is coming from video surveillance side, because video data is a kind of data which is a kind of sensor data which covers most attributes of uh, the things that is need to be sensor data, and that need and this video data takes a lot of space, and it needs to be processed immediately for even for real time requirement also, and also for reducing it in the sense like not all the nature of data is transient. So this is making us to have a computing infrastructure being present at the edge location. That answers your question?
Yeah, somewhat I got the points. Like
Mhm.
this end device, edge devices needs to be connected with the edge computing. Means I want to understand one more point. Is that
Yeah.
edge computing is like modules or tools directly which can be plugged into our all our IoT experiments?
Yes, yes. So basically, you can think it like IoT device aggregator. Basically, you can think like aggregation of certain set of devices. We will have a common computing infrastructure so that it can manage those set of devices instead of typical installation like a device directly connecting to the internet, right? So that was very cost prohibitive. So what edge computing as an intermediate layer, what it tries to do is it tries to consolidate those devices. Being closer to that, it can manage effectively, including the security of those devices and processing of those devices. Basically, processing. What I meant is not the device processing, but they are typically used to it. The IT side of it. So what to
Mm.
do with the lot of data that is being generated, and what to do if the device need a new firmware update, and who
Okay.
will maintain the patches, the software updates, and the new upgrades that is possible, right? And what if the device fails? How to notify it? So all the software catalog management, maintenance, all these things is taken care by this layer, so that it is not a single device management or few tens.
So
Yeah,
can you just give me the idea, like for example, I have created a healthcare system in
yeah.
my lab,
Mhm.
and how can I introduce my this edge computing? Means
Mhm.
I need what all the other things I have to do to apply this edge computing to the healthcare system. In my healthcare system, there is an Arduino board with temperature sensing and pulse sensing and some accelerometer movement operations. So using for these things, I just felt like it's a bare machine and security is an issue. So can you give me the idea like what all the things I have to incorporate in this experiment so that it will become something in a more edge computing facilities?
Yeah, typically you can have two servers to start with. If you, it all depends on the how many healthcare devices that you have deployed at the edge. Basically, if you have some, assume that your healthcare sensors are crosses like more than 10 to hundreds. So
Okay.
you need to have a proportionate computing being infrastructure being managed at the same location itself, the edge location. So that will dictate it. So there will be certain ratios. It's a deployment consideration based on if you have 100 installations or 1,000 installation of various health based
Yeah.
monitoring.
And you're talking about edge computing from the ready-made right now cloud, whatever we are having, like AWS or that
Yeah.
one, or that I have to maintain the separate hardware infrastructure.
This has to be maintained separate hardware because this has to be present in the on-premise, right? So this will indirect, it will actually connect to the cloud rather than connecting those devices to the cloud.
Hmm.
So this infrastructure is typically 2 to 3
Okay.
servers. You
So
can
to server means
HA kind
what?
of thing.
Okay. What will be HA kind means what will be the configuration like?
Configuration typically you can take it like either Supermicro 24 core server system with hundreds of GBs of RAM, 192 GBR, and typically you can consider like 2 TB storage. So if you have some two such servers kind of thing, I'm giving a minimal basically. right?
This is minimal. Okay.
So
Because this is something
basically,
where,
see,
yeah.
basically there is I'm noticing a difference here. Basically, we are targeting enterprise customers. So I'm coming from that angle. The customer
Okay,
needs,
okay, okay.
right?
No,
Enterprise customer for IoT devices like video surveillance. Typically, a factory will have installations where hundreds
yeah,
of
yeah.
CCTV will be there, right? So,
Okay,
so you have to scale down depending on the need.
okay.
So we scale it down. So and then we will have such hundreds of customers. You can think like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And what all the tools you are recommending, like softwares?
software tools, as I said, right? Like Kubernetes is central to the strategy, right? Kubernetes is the thing. So that by the moment I said Kubernetes, that means operating system has to be present. And by default, you will have the Kubernetes being installed and managed through that.
What is that, sir? Cumulative?
Kubernetes.
Kubernetes. Okay, okay. Kubernetes.
So that you can run your applications like containers. The nature of applications that you run, right? And typically we have seen now the demand is increasing on inferencing applications. Inferencing means there are two kinds of applications in machine learning, right? Machine learning training based applications, and another one is inferencing applications who sees the object
Okay.
and object classification, which will actually decides what it is, right? Even in healthcare system, you can do things like
Kubernetes K8 sufficient?
K8s, yeah.
K8. Okay.
So we use K3s. K3s is a miniature of it. So
Okay.
that it will
And is it open source?
yeah, it is upstream open source. And so you can have a look at KubeEdge. I can give another example.
Yeah.
KubeEdge is open source. You can take a look into that. So that give a lot of information about how it is being deployed and managed. And in healthcare, we see typically the video data being like the pictures of X-rays, packs, some of those images that we take, and the image recognition you need to do, right, instantaneously. So that those things will be done by these systems.
Normally, we are working on Alzheimer.
Okay.
Like what is the movement of that person, how he's behaving.
And for those things, you need certain ML to be done, right? Machine learning inference portion. That inference portion, you can do it on these servers. And with the GPU card attached, basically. You can attach a Tesla T4 card or something to those servers, and you can make those applications which will be using that.
Okay, thank you, Girish sir, for introducing the new technology to all our participants. It's a great session. So we learned a lot of new things from your session. Presentation is also very much resourceful. So thank you very much for accepting our request and being part of this workshop, sir.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Participants, now it's a break. So we will meet once again at 1:45. Anyway, attendance link is posted. You can mark your attendance of the morning session. Thank you.